Baseplan Presents video features a simple way to create an average rental rates dashboard, focusing on the following areas: connecting to the Baseplan Analytics database, creating filters and visualizations in Microsoft Power BI, comparing average rental rates, comparing average rental days, drilling into the data to compare average rental rates by month.
Okay, so I'm currently logged into a blank page within the Microsoft Power BI desktop application. We're going to use this application to connect to the Baseplan Analytics database so then we can start creating some dashboards to report on things like average rental rates. Now, before we get into actually creating the dashboard, I've already created a template that we can actually go through, and so you can see what the end result's going to look like, and then we can go through the steps to actually create the dashboard. I'm going to go to this tab over here, which says average rental rates. And I'm just going to explain this layout quickly. So on the top section here, we have a few different filters that I've set up. I've chosen branch, year, and month. And I can click on any of these and it will filter all the data below. So if I clicked on, say, 2020, it'll filter all the visualizations below that based upon the filter of 2020. I've got a graph here that shows me the average rental rates by the different category of equipment. I've got a line graph here that's showing me the average rental rates by different branches or locations and how they fluctuate month to month. I've got another visualization here that's showing me the average rental rates based upon the model. And I've also got one of my favorite visualizations, which is a scatter plot graph, which allows me to have two different types of dimensions, which might be rental rate, for example, and average rental days. And I can see the comparison between the two and sort of where they stack up on the graph. And I've just got a few different metrics here that I might want to pull through, which will be affected by the filters as well. Now, not only do the filters apply here, I can also click on any of these areas and it will filter the data as well. So if I clicked on, say, dirt equipment, it'll filter everything on dirt equipment and we can see the changes that have applied. And if I wanted to, I can actually right click on some areas and say I want to drill into the actual data. So I want to see more detail that relates to these rental rates. So when I do this, I can drill in and I can actually see information that just relates to this particular model and how those rental rates have fluctuated month to month. So hopefully this just gives you a bit of an idea on how we can actually, what the output's going to be in this video. And let's actually go through and actually create this on the fly now as well. So I'm just going to go back to my blank page. And what we're going to do is we're going to start off by just pulling through some of the filters that we want in here. So first thing I want to do is click on this slicer. And this will give me a layout here. And I can drag this up to where I want it to be. And so we want to look at the branch. So if I drop down my particular table here that's coming from the Baseplan Analytics database, what I need to do is find branch and drag that onto the actual slicer. I can see here it gives me this layout and I might want to have that horizontal view like we saw before. So I can actually say in general, we want it to be horizontal. Now I can copy this and paste other filters that we might want as well. So I can paste this one again, and then we can just drop the fields that we want onto that particular slicer. So I can say we wanted year, so I can go down here and find year and get rid of that field and drag year onto that slicer now. So now it gives me that information. Now maybe I want the month, so I can get rid of branch again, find month and drag month on there as well. This data will pull through. Now I might want my background to be a different color. It does make it a bit easier to visualize things. So I can actually go onto this section here and go page background. And I might want to choose a particular background color. And I can change the transparency. And we can see here it starts giving me a better visualization of where I want to actually put my fields potentially. All right, so now we've got our filters here, which will filter everything below this. So maybe I want to pull through that graph that we started off with. So I can grab this particular graph here, this slicer, and drag it in. And so we want to have a look at our category of equipment. So I just need to find category over here. So we can drag category in here. And then what we want to do is we want to do it by the rental rate, so the average rental rate. So we need to find rental rate and drag that on there. And then what we want to do is we want to do it by the average. So I can go down here and rather than doing a sum, it's going to do an average. This will then give me that information and it will give me a title as well. Now I can do that same visualization down the bottom here. So maybe one of another one, which might be by model potentially. And so I can quickly go up here and actually, so when I click on this particular visualization, I can go up here and change the visualization. So if I want to have this tree map, for example, you can do that and it changes it around. But instead of doing category, we want to have model. So go up here and find model and drag model on here. And that will give me all the models in here. Now, as we go through, maybe you want to do the branch, the location like we had before. So just copy, come over here and paste this in. And we want to start looking at the average rental rate for the different branches. So rather than having category in here, we want to change it from maybe a bar graph to a line graph. We can click on the line graph here. I'm going to get rid of category and we're going to pull in branch. So we're going to find branch here and drop that on there. And so we can see what's going to change. Now, instead of, you can see here, it's tried to apply the logic automatically. What we want to do is that we actually want the legend to be branch and we want the bottom to actually be our months. So we want to drag month on here and that'll allow me to start seeing the different months and how things have come through. And you can see here it's out of order. So what we can actually do is we can actually say sort by and then say month. And that can start changing things around as needed. Now, as we go through, we can start doing more and more different visualizations. So I can copy this one and drag this down. I just noticed that this is not in the correct order. Let's go ascending. And then what we can do is we can then choose our next one, which is my favorite one, which is this scatter plot. So if I go up here and click on scatter plot, this one. So what we want to do is we want to try and have our rental rates on one axis and then our rental days on another axis. So we want to get rid of month. We don't need that. And we want to pull in the particular rental rate. And then we want the rental days as well. So if we go find days and drag that on there, that'll give me the area. But instead of doing it by the branch, we might want to look at it by category potentially. So if we go up here and find category, what we can do is drag that on there, and that's going to give me my layout. And you can see here it's going to be one color, so it's a little bit confusing. What you can actually do is you can just drag category onto the legend as well. And so that'll actually change the colors around. And then if you actually want to have more detail and not have this legend at the top, we can go in this section and say get rid of the legends, but we want to see the category description, and that'll give us the information that we need. Now we can see here that it's giving me my totals, so we need to make sure that we're looking at the average and not the sum. So if I just go over here to average, that'll sort itself out, and that information will then come through. So now that we've got the main visualization, we might want to put these quick metrics in the middle as well. And the way we do that is by pulling these cards in. So we can put the card here and you can see it tries to fit in automatically. And it's just literally a matter of you picking the metric that you want. So average rental rates is obviously one that we want. So you just go find rental rates and drag it on there. And that'll give you your number. And remember, we want that on average, not on sum. So that tells me my average is 118. And then I can do the same thing. Maybe I want to have the average days as well. So I can just switch this around by dragging days on there. And we want to also have the average. 226. That maybe we want to look at our sales that have come through to date as well. So we can actually go over here and try and find our total sales. So we can just drag this total sales on here, and it'll give us our total there. And then maybe we want to compare that against the cost on the original purchase of the machine, which I think is important. Then we can start doing some maths on what the ROI is potentially. And so we can look for equipment purchase price, which is here, and drag that in. You can see how this sort of forming up pretty quickly. Now, once you have that information, you can do some calculations within here as well, and you might want to say what the percentage of these two numbers are. So I've just got a calculated field down here called ROI percentage, and so I can drag that on here as well as another potential metric that we want to look at. So I won't make the dashboard layout perfect, but you can sort of see how this is pulling through and coming together. Now, I might want to start drilling into this data. So what we can actually do is I recommend people just right click and say duplicate page. And so that gives me a duplication. And to get what we had before, I might just want to delete these particular graphs, but we want to keep the filters. And so I can start moving these around as needed. And we want to pull down our line graph and actually look at the average rental rate over a period of time for a particular model. So then when we actually drill into this data, we can see the details of it. So if I make this a bit bigger, and we might want to, so what we want to look at is the average rental rates for the model by month. So instead of looking at by branch, we want to pull in model. So drag this in, and that'll give us all our information. Now this is showing me all the models. Really what we want to do is when we do our drilling, we want to look at one particular model potentially. So I can, you can just move these around. I don't need to make them perfect. And the way that you link this is you can see here there's add drill through fields. So you want to drag the particular field that you want to be linked. So equipment model might be the link that's going to be between the two different dashboards. So you can see here it gives you a little back button that you can move around as well, which I won't make it perfect. But if we just go back to page 1 now, what we just created, I can start applying these filters as needed, and it will sort of move things around. I can hover over areas and it will give me the relevant numbers as needed. But more importantly, what I can then do is I can say click on that dirt equipment like we had before, and I can right click on this and it will give me the option to drill through and basically want to go to that duplicate page that I haven't renamed yet. And that'll take everything on that page and apply it to this automatically. And now we can see all the same metrics for that particular 336 FL. It's pulled through the 2020 filter automatically. And you can see here, it's just giving me the average rental rate. So then we can start analyzing at a detail level on how these rental rates are fluctuating between maybe branch or the different classes or types or models of equipment, and then start analyzing some more data in there. So look, hopefully this has given you an idea on how you can actually start analyzing some of your average rental rates and days and stuff like that, and through something like Power BI and pulling the data from Baseplan. Look, if you have any questions or ideas on future topics, please leave a comment in the section below, and hope to see everyone in next week's video.